So the question for the day is, how do I keep my virtual practice going when so many people are calling for in-office appointments? So I gave a lot of thought to this, and I actually really have a different perspective on some things than a lot of people do. So I'm going to share that with you, and I'm going to circle it back around on how to really stand out in a virtual practice. So when you work with a private practice coach, or you hear all the time, you have to have a niche, you have to have a niche. While I agree with that, I do love a good generalist. I'm not going to lie. I love a good generalist. I like somebody who can, treat a little depression, treat a little bit of anxiety, treat a little bit of this, treat a little bit of that. Because I think there's a need for it sometimes. And I think people call our offices a lot of the times and they're like, hey, I'm coming in for XYZ, but really they have ABC, right? And I think that we need to know how to treat a variety of things. I understand, not practicing outside of your scope or what you're not trained in, but I do love a good generalist. However, for virtual practices, I think what's really going to make people stand out is having a niche. If you are a generalist or you operate mostly like a generalist, you're just competing with too many people. You're competing with Talkspace, Better Health. You're competing with all the Teledoc, some of these other platforms. You're competing with other people who want to be virtual only. And then you're competing with group practices that are doing a hybrid model. So you have a lot of competition. Whereas people with in-office only practices, they're really only competing with other group practices, if you think of it that way, or other solo practices, which I don't always think of it as competition. But if we're talking about how to make yourself stand out, you do need to assess your competition. Even though I don't see other practices as my competition in areas that I'm in, I do assess the market. And so if you're doing a virtual only practice, you need to assess the market. You need to Google that market and see, what are other people doing? What are they charging? Is BetterHelp, the one that is ranking first? Who's ranking first? How are they getting there? Are they having ads? Are they ranking for keywords? You need to know your competition. And people are going to be able to find a generalist very easy through a variety of different ways through telehealth. So to really make yourself stand out, you have to have a niche, and you have to have something that people are going to be virtual for. I am a great virtual therapy candidate, right? Because I have limited time. I always struggled to find a therapist when I was looking for one because my schedule looks exactly like a therapist schedule. And really, I would need almost a 3-hour block in order to make it to a therapy appointment. So let's say I wanted to go to even an 11 a.m. therapy appointment. I have to drive there. Let's just say it takes 20 minutes. So I would need from 10:30, 11 is the appointment, and then I'm done at 12-ish, 12, and then drive to wherever I'm going. That's only 2 hours, but that's 3 hours of my day because I start my hours, on the hour. And so if I worked in office 10 to 6, let's say, I wouldn't get to the office and get started until 1 o'clock. That's really difficult. So I love going to virtual appointments now because I don't have to commute. It's only 1 hour. It's the top of the hour, the end of the hour, done. And so think about who your ideal client is, and if there would be somebody for telehealth. Now, there's a fantastic Facebook group with like 20,000 professionals for telehealth for children. So I get that it can be done. But I would say 90% of the calls that we're getting in are for in-office and children. People want their children to come back to the offices. And so we don't market virtual therapy for children. We really have a specific niche that we have. It's adults, working professionals, maybe people who don't have access to mental health providers in the area, like rural areas, things like that. So I really want you to think about what your niche is. And then we're going to talk about how you can stand out. But first, I want to thank our sponsor, TherapyNotes. If you're looking for an electronic health record that's really full service, one that can help you run your virtual practice really smoothly, because they have a free telehealth option, I want you to check out TherapyNotes. You can send everything that you need to not have that person in your office. So you can send reminders, you can send paperwork, you can send billing, and really be able to run a virtual practice and an in-person practice. And you can also pick up the phone and call them and they can help you. So I want you to check out our sponsor, TherapyNotes. So I always talk about marketing. You really want your niche to stand out on your marketing, on your Psychology Today profile, on your Therapy Den profile, on your website, on your service pages, on your Instagram, on your TikTok, however you are marketing, you really want it to say virtual therapist, online counselor, however you specify that, and talk about your niche and make sure that the marketing that you put out is directly related to your niche, because that's how people are going to find you. And you can also let other therapists know what your really cool niche is so that they can refer to you, because I found we've gotten a lot of referrals for virtual therapy from other therapists. So good luck in building your virtual practices. I'm here most days answering your questions. Bye, everybody.